Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to use Qprints.com's class composites to order class composites for your school photo shoots. We have designs that will accommodate as few as 14 images or as many as 40 images. The first step is probably one of the most crucial and important things, so make sure that you pay close attention. It's going to be about the way that you structure and save your files. And so I'm going to go ahead and just show you, from here on the desktop we've got our school, which is the San Diego Wildcats, and then we've got 3 different classes that we photographed. You'll notice here that I've got the class grade listed as well as the number 14. So the number 14 indicates that I'm going to have a total of 14 individuals in this photo. That's going to be very helpful to know later on when we're using the simple ordering system to order our class composites. So let's look inside this first folder to see what the structure is. So in here you can see each file has the student's last name, a comma, a space, and then their first name. And that's going to be for every single student in the class. We also have a separate folder for the faculty, and that's going to have the principal, the vice principal, and maybe an additional teacher or two that we can add to the design. Let's go back. And the last thing that we're going to have in some of these folders, just depending on how you decide to use the system, would be a background image. This is something that is completely optional. If you want to create your own art to drop in behind your class composites, you can do so. However, you're not obligated to. We also have the option to just drop in text, and so I'm going to go ahead and show you how all of that works now. Now let's go take a look at Qprints.com and we'll figure out how to place our order. So we're going to click Order Now. Here where it says Simple Order System, we'll click Order Now again. And then on this page, we're going to scroll down and select where it says 8x10 Class Composites and select Order Now once again. On the left-hand side, you can see we have a lot of different options for class sizes. 40 images, 39, 32, 31, 15, and 14. Let's start with the 14 image design first, and then we'll kind of build out on our knowledge from there. So the first thing we want to do is add our text, and since this is our first grade class, we'll just call it First Grade 2024. The next thing that we want to do is add our faculty photo first, and so in this case we know that we're going to put just the picture of the teacher, which we have here in the faculty folder. So we'll click and add that. And then for the student images, I like to load all of the images over here on the right hand side. So let's go back to our G1 folder, and we're going to click the first through the last student, click open, and now they all load here on the right, and we can just easily drag and drop each student image. As you can see, the file name then becomes the name underneath the image. So if you have all of your files named as the last name, comma, space, first name, it will automatically populate the name underneath each image, which makes it a lot easier than if you were designing this in Photoshop. Alright, and there goes our last image. We now have the design pretty well laid out. The last thing I wanted to point out is that we do have an option down here for any students who are not pictured because they missed picture day. So we can add that in manually. There we go, we're all set. Now we just want to adjust the quantity of prints, and so in this class we had 13 students and 1 faculty member, so let's go ahead and change that to 14. So we order 14 of this design and click Add to Cart. Now, as we're getting ready to move on to our next class, the first thing that we'll want to do is clear this gallery so that we don't have the previous class's photos loaded up. For the next composite that we're going to create, I'm going to take one more look at our folder, and we can see that our grade 3 class photo is going to have 35 total images, or students and faculty total inside the design. So let's go back to our ordering system, and since it's an odd number, we're going to want to choose the 39 images with text option here. Now, as I previously did, we're going to enter in the class and school information as well as adding our faculty photos. To me, it makes the most sense to add those on the top row, so I'll do that quickly now. This design works well for if you want to add in pictures of the principal and vice principal, and also if you have a few additional faculty members to add in on the side as well. Now that we have our school information as well as our faculty on the top row, I'm going to go ahead and load the rest of the class images here on the right hand side. So we'll click and shift click. Now all that's left will be to add the images one by one to each of the nodes. One thing to keep in mind is that, as we noted in our folders, this design is going to have a total of 35 images. However, the design that we're working with has a total of 39 nodes. So that means that we're going to need to use 4 less nodes than what we have images for. What that means is that we'll want to leave the bottom left 2 nodes empty as well as the bottom right 2 nodes empty. By removing those 4 nodes, we'll bring this design from 39 images down to 35 and it'll look great. So let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, we have all of our students loaded now. If we need to add in any notes about students who are not pictured, we can do that once more. We'll also want to update the quantity of images to the total amount of prints that we want for our students and faculty. So we said that was 35, so we'll click there and add to cart. Once more, we'll click Clear Gallery so we can start fresh with our final tutorial. For our final example, let's go ahead and take a look at what our last folder is going to be. It says Grade 5 class photos and 36. So we know that we have 36 students, which means we're going to need a design layout that has an even number of nodes. Let's take a look at what options we have. Alright, so here we have 40 images with background image. This is something that's going to be a great option if you've got a little design experience or you want to add in certain elements to the overall layout that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. So the first thing I want to do is add our background image. This is something that I custom created using Photoshop. So here I've got a folder called background and I've already got it ready to go. So click open and there we go. Now we have a background image with our school logo, the school name, and also the class. Once more, similar to the last example, we're going to go ahead and add in our faculty images first. And now we're going to load in our student images once again. As we did in the previous example, we're going to want to make sure that we know exactly which nodes are not being used for this design before we begin laying it out. So we know that there's a total of 36 images total in this class, 36 students and faculty combined. So that means that out of the 40 images, we're only going to use 36 nodes. So once more, we're going to delete the left bottom 2 nodes and the right bottom 2 nodes. So let's go ahead and add in our images. Now I want to take a quick moment to show what would happen if you were to make a small mistake at this point in the process. So let's say that you accidentally drag and drop a photo and then add in the remaining photos like so. You can see that if we're not careful, we can wind up with all of our student photos on one side on the bottom left and empty nodes on the bottom right, which we don't think looks great. If you find yourself in this situation, we have an easy workaround. You'll go back to the Qprints website on the Class Composites page and scroll down to where you see this note about an issue where you can't remove an image from a node. Here we have a transparent PNG file that you can download and use to fill in the node that accidentally has the cat picture inside of it. So let's go find our transparent PNG file and load it in. We'll go back to our folder, I have it saved here, we'll click open, and then I'm just going to scroll all the way down, and there it is at the bottom. You can only see it because it has the text. And let's go ahead and drag and drop that into our first image. There we go, now it is empty, and we'll do that once more. And now I just need to fill in these 5 images with the last 5 shots from the class. And there we have it. You can see that when we added the transparent GIF, it didn't add in a name the way that it did with our other files. This is because we have no -text as part of the file name. If you have any files that you want to add to your design and not have the file name show up, simply adding no -text to the file name will prohibit it from showing in your final design. This works out particularly well if you want to incorporate a logo into one of the image nodes, but you don't want to have the logo file name appear as well. One other cool function that we have the option to use is to add a stroke to our images. So if we scroll up to the top right where it says settings, and then we're going to come down and we will find wherever our first image begins, and so that's going to be, let's see, right here, image 1. We're going to add a stroke. So for this case, I'll make it black. And I personally think that a stroke of about 3 pixels looks best. So we'll add that there as well. And now, rather than having to click and manually enter on each image that same stroke, we can apply the stroke to all image nodes, just like that, and it will take place right there. Once we've added all of our composites to our cart, we can always go and do some slight modifications, such as editing the cropping and also double checking the names on our files. So from the shopping cart, you click the edit pencil, and then if you needed to make an adjustment to a file name or to the name of an individual, you can do so here. You can also adjust the crop by scrolling in or out on your mouse. And once everything is set, then you're ready to go. I do caution to make sure that you don't accidentally zoom in on your background image, because that will sometimes sneak past you and it's an easy thing to not catch before you send the file to print. So make sure that you keep an eye on that as well. Once you've completed all of your composites, simply go to the cart and click checkout, enter your shipping and payment details, and you will be all set. Thanks again for watching. If you have any additional questions or comments, please leave them in the notes below.